Hello YouTubers. Well, went out to the lake the other day and oh no, you've seen my numbers. You might be able to trace this back to where I live. Ha! You see people who, you can't see the numbers because you might know where I live. Yes, well, it's public record, Chief. Anyways, back to the story. I was out on the lake with this device, and the local Keystone cops come by, and they said they didn't like my numbers because there wasn't a 2-inch space between the OK and the CK. So I have to have a 2-inch space between there and there. It's funny, they can't find a burglary suspect that I give video to, Facebook page to, known aliases to, and known accomplices to, and his prior burglary record, but they can find a space missing between there and there. Want to know why? Because there's profit in this, and there is no profit in a destitute gangster burglary suspect. Okay, we got some new numbers. We've got our heat gun. We're going to put some heat on those, not too much, and we're going to peel those off and put new numbers on. And letters. Okay, we've taken them off, but they've left some residue, so we're going to use some GA on this, and after we get that off, we're going to chase it with some spray-away glass cleaner. Keep your old bath washcloths because they work great for that. And then we're going to put an underline, a tape underline, and we're going to put 2 pieces of tape, 2 lines of tape in between the letters and the numbers, because I think that's what Officer O'Malley and the FBI are looking for. So let's get to it. Okay, we're clean and dried, and our tape lines laid out on both sides. I brought it a couple of inches in from the yearly tag too, so state tag. So let's put our numbers on, letters. Okay, that ought to satisfy ODB and the Wu-Tang Lake Patrol. I had to make a K out of an R because I didn't have enough of them, but I put a genuine gap between them, so it should be okay. There you go. There you go. There you go. Little delay in plans there. I would have done this a lot sooner, but the daughter and the grandson come over and played for a little while. And Jack, if you're looking at this later and wondering why, hey, how come I ain't on any of Grandpa's videos? Well, it's because Mom won't let me put you on any of the videos. And she's the boss. So there you go. There you go. I think that ought to satisfy him. Alright. Maybe we'll get our lights next. Well, we got this in the mail today, so let's have a look. Let's see what we got. Looks like it's sealed up pretty good. Hey, LED taillights. Look at that. There's our taillights. There's our wiring. Our license plate light. And our 2 LED side marker lights. And there's more of those terrible blue clips, but some clips to hang the wires. And destructions. Okay, let's go down and put it on the boat. See what we can do. Okay, we're at our boat. And we're going to put some new lights on it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run wires. This particular harness has 2 browns, yellow, a green, and a white. Now this is set up where, well, I put this on the left. The yellow runs down the left rail and the green runs down the right rail. And they meant for you to ground the body or the frame. So you have a screw that will loosen and that will corrode for your ground, and then your light at the other end will also have a ground that has a screw that will corrode and loosen also. So this is what I suggest you do. I suggest you run a dedicated ground wire. So I am going to attach this black wire to the white wire, and I'm going to do it via solder, and I'm going to do it via heat shrink so it won't corrode and it won't come loose. And then when it gets to my apparatus, to my light, I'm going to solder it there so it won't corrode and it won't come loose. You have to connect your ground to something. Why not connect it to a dedicated ground wire? Why not solder it? And why not solder it and use heat shrink? Because if you use a terminal lug and a screw that goes through it to the body, if you run your boat trailer down into the sea or the ocean where it's salty, that will corrode. Aluminum and steel, they will corrode, and then you'll lose your connection. How do I know this? Because I watched my father with this old trailer he had fool around with these little lights all the time. Oh, this light ain't working. It's the ground. I have to mess with the ground. And had he run a dedicated ground wire to the lights, to each light, I know it's a pain in the butt, but if you run one to each light, just run it along and use this and solder it, you'll never have a problem. And every time you plug in your lights, they'll work. How do I know this? Because that's what I did to this on the top here. They had the same thing set up in that cheesy little aluminum skin on the outside there. That was your ground. And it's terrible. So I fixed that, and they work all the time, every time now. No matter how much it rains, no matter how much, because they don't get corroded. Okay, so first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to clip these lines, and then we're going to attach our lines and pull them through. Or pull them through. Probably pull them through this way. Use the lines that are in the frame rails to pull the new lines through. Well, we've got our new wires coming through on this side, on the back, on the right. And I pulled this little light out. And this light has 4 little bullet connectors to go in there. I'll see if I can find some bullets. If I can, I'll solder them. Don't care if these work or not. These might not work. They're incandescent. They're not LED. But I'm putting a new light here. It's an LED light, so I need to drill a hole right there. Now I'll need to fish those wires out of there. If I can, through all the rust. I had another video about the rust on this vehicle already. Not vehicle, but this deal already. But it's just full of rot. I think it's been in the ocean, very possibly. So we're going to pull those through. Try not to damage them. Looks like I already have. Not too badly, I hope. There we go. And what we will do is we will solder onto those well, onto the brown wire and the black wire, the ground wire. So we have our light there. But as you can see, I did a repair on this a while back, and I should have recorded it, but it was all rotted out here. So the metal on this is all punky. So one day I should be trailering this down the road and it'll probably fall in half. Alright, next. Okay, I couldn't find any bullets, so what we're going to do is we're going to try to solder these on there. Now, this doesn't matter whether it's one side's positive or one side's the other, it's just an incandescent light. So there's no neither mind to that. We're just going to use the brown one and the black one. And we're going to tin these up first, and tinning is a process of getting some solder to stick to those, and we're going to clean those up first with a little steel wool, and we'll use some soldering paste and our good 6040, and we'll tin that up and see if we can get some solder to stick to it, and then we'll solder those wires to it. Use a little paste on that one. See if we can't get it to stick. Not exactly the smoothest. There we go. I think that'll do it. Okay, if you look at that, what I did is I stripped the insulation off the wire, but I did not cut the wire in half. I just stripped the insulation off, and then I doubled it up. I shoved it down in those holes after I tinned both the wire and the light, and I shoved them down in that hole, and that should be pretty good, provided the light's good. Okay, let's work on this one though. Again, I've just stripped these. I have not cut the wire, just stripped them. I shoved my heat shrink on the heavier wire, the thicker wire. That's the double wire. And I'm going to put the single wire down here because it's easier to slide from a double wire onto a single wire, your heat shrink. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap these up and I'm going to solder them, then slide the heat shrink down. Boy, you can tell it's Saturday night in the hood. Okay, kind of running out of light here, so I think this is going to be my last connection for tonight. I bought this heat shrink at Hazard Fraud, so we'll see how well it performs. Seems to be doing okay. You can use a hair dryer for this or a heat gun too. In fact, I probably ought to use my heat gun. That would be smart. What I'm going to do also is I'm going to put a little electrical tape around these, and that'll help to, there, she's starting to get hot now. That's right. It'll help to insulate it a little more while it's stuffed up in that frame. Yeah, that's a pretty nice job. Okay, let's lay that in the grass and set the grass on fire. So, that's pretty nice right there, nice and neat. Nice and neat. And we'll put a little electrical tape on each one of them, and we'll put them back in the box. And then we'll mount that there, and we'll have two lights. One there, and side marker light. Extra. Ooh, can't wait to see this. I'm using some 5/16 self-tappers. There you go. There's an orientation to these lights. There is some lettering right there at the bottom. I always have the lettering at the bottom. There you go. Okay, it's getting dark. See you in the morning. Lots of light now. Have to take your old light off. Take all the screws out of it. It should come off there. There it is, right there. Okay, we'll put our new light on. The right side light is going to be green wire, and it does not have the license plate cut out. The other light has license plate cut out. This also has a little strip of foam here, and that's going to go there, and like that, and then we'll bolt her up. Ho ho ho, because I am hateful little rotten frog trailer, you have to bend my lip up in order to get any other light on me except for the original Sea-Doo lights that cannot be obtained anymore. Ha ha ha, because of labor unions. Ha ha ha, Fabrique in Quebec. Ha ha ha. Okay, we're going to do a double whammy here. I've got those wires twisted, but if you notice there's heat shrink on these pieces, and there's heat shrink on here. So I'm going to use a small piece of heat shrink and shrink it, and then I'm going to slide another piece over the top and shrink it to give it double protection. Hopefully you'll be able to see that. Oops, I lost my little gob of paste. Paste there. Paste there.
what you want to do is when you're soldering, you have to get your wire hot. You can't just drizzle solder on something and it sticks. The wire's got to be hot. And then you feed the solder into it. Much like sweating a pipe joint. Once you get it hot, you can watch it flow in there pretty good. Okay, we're going to slide our first over that. This one. Like that. And this one. Now, push these other ones back so they don't get hot. And let's shrinky dink. Again, I'm using this Hazard Fraud heat shrink, so don't know how good it's going to perform. It seems to be doing okay though. The Chinese are pretty good about their plastic stuff. Seems to work pretty good. They've gotten a handle on a lot of their stuff, and it's coming almost as good as the American stuff. In fact, there's a lot of stuff you can't buy anymore that's American. That's only Chinese. You can't buy it in America. Made in America by you guys all know that. Alright, that looks pretty good. Hit these one more little time. Okay, it's good. Now we're going to slide our big heat shrink over. Like that. And like that. That, and we'll shrinky dink that. A front coming in to look at the weather. Get that a little better. Better? Hit them one more time. Okay. Yeah, that's not too bad. There you go. Now I'm going to wrap the wire in this plastic loom, and I'm going to put some tape around it. Okay, I don't know if you can see that right there, but the wires, when this thing's bolted up there, are getting pinched because there's not enough space. So I'm going to add a couple of washers to either side, and what that's going to do is that's going to put some space for clearance of those wires. Just wrap some tape around it like so, just to keep the wires in the loom. Not a lot, 4 or 5 places maybe. So I've got this going into the frame, and I have it pinched underneath there, but there's plenty of space, so it's not going to pinch the wires. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some urethane in that hole right there, and I'm going to put a little dot of urethane in there. And what it's going to do is it's going to hold this loom in place so it doesn't come out and get hooked on anything. You can use silicone, but silicone is a natural acidic, or natural acidic. It is acidic, and the base of it is. So we've got enough corrosion going on here already, so I don't like using that. Alright, you do the same for the other side. That light and that light. And I've connected my my white ground wire to my 2 grounds that I have, one running down this way and one running down that way. 2 ground wires. Incidentally, I forgot to tell you this, but what you need to do is when you pull your wires, pull them all the way until you get to, you know, where you got to about there. I had my ground right here. My ground wires coming out right here, so I matched it to my white, pulled out my red and my green and my yellow. So I've got a nice long pigtail about 1.5 foot or something like that. Okay, now we're going to wrap that pigtail in some wire loom, and we're going to use a little tape around each one, some electrical tape. And there's a grommet here we also need to observe. So we're going to put that grommet in there. Our wire loom is going to go up in there. I'm going to put a little urethane around there to hold it in place, and that should be fine. And then we'll work on our backlight and our license plate holder. We did the same for this light. I doubled my heat shrink, white and then red. This light is the left side because it does have the license plate light in it. Now we're going to put some loom around that and tape it up, and then we'll put the light in place. I also want to look at this license plate bracket because it's pretty flimsy, but should ought to work. I had to drill a couple extra holes in this plastic thing to move it up some. I want it closer, as close as I can get it, because it'll put the license plate off the ground farther. When I park it in a kind of a ramp, and it just, if I can get just a 1/4 inch more, that license plate won't rub. Something else I didn't do is I didn't put this wiring loom through the hole, but a couple of spot ties will fix that. So yeah, what are you going to do? Can't have everything perfect. So let's tighten this light up and we should be good. Okay, I'm going to be an optimist about this and see if this will work. It's awful hard to do it with one hand. Let's do the left signal. It's not flashing really fast. No strange lights. Nice. Let's try the right signal. What was it doing? Okay, that's about the same. That's nice, I like that. Okay. Let's try our parking lights. Can't try our brake lights. They'll nobody there to do that. We have nothing there. One there. Yes. 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 And yes. Let's look at that other light and see what's up. Well, we have good contact there. So evidently this light is burnt out. I wonder if that's repairable, or if I can get into it and pull the light out of it. Let's look. That sounds like something the hateful French would do. To make this light hermetically sealed, instead of being able to just pop it apart and have a little drain hole in it, you know, so it drains if it gets water in it, and be able to replace that. Huh. Yeah, hermetically sealed. No, we do not want you to replace that. We want you to buy a new part. Oh, they are discontinued because we are a labor union and we only made them for 3 months. Ho, ho, ho. Henri. Yes, Pierre. Why would the silly American solder another light in place? We took so long to think of this crazy idea for these Americans to swallow. Yes, Pierre, I know. Well, I just do not understand it, Pierre. How come he just didn't buy a whole new Sea-Doo? That's what the plan was. I don't know. Okay. Aha. Ho, ho, ho. I wanted to fix that because Henri and Pierre designed it so I couldn't. This boat trailer was made by labor unions. Guarantee it. If it was made by the Japanese, they would have replacement bulbs. Nay, nay. They would have LEDs in it already. Well, that is one of many devices that are foisted upon an unsuspecting American public by ne'er-do-wells in the business industry, probably brought to you by big government, I would guess, or labor unions, probably. They don't want you to replace that. They want you to buy a whole new trailer. I don't know. So here's another device brought to you by regulatory people in the government, and ironically it is called a regulator. Okay, this goes to a small gas grill I have. The gas grill, you couldn't cook a June bug on it, let alone a hot dog or a hamburger. So we're going to have a look at that next. I've bought one online that works like a pressure regulator on a set of torches, where you can adjust it however much you want coming out of there, up to 20 pounds, which is a considerable amount of gas coming out of. Like I said, this boy, I tell you, you get a flame about this big on the burner, wide open. You can't have it on low because it'll shut off. Okay, well, there's our lights at night. Not too bad. And thank you, YouTubers, for joining me and plowing through some of this stuff. And I'm going to post this and get to my next project. Alright, good night, everybody.